going to Queen's Stone Age in Auckland in November. I just think I'm incredibly excited about it. They're really good.
Yeah, it was good concerts. Gary Newman and Simple Minds. Good Gary Newman.
Yeah. To our deliberations for the dog control bylaw and policy. And Councillor Everest will be leaving from 3 p.m. Right, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So, as we have for the previous bylaw, we'll just give a quick recap of how we got here, what we're intending to do, and the next steps. Obviously, the information relating to dogs is all on Stella, so there's a full submissions book in the summary of feedback that we'll work through. We've had a couple of speakers this morning on dogs. And we'll just work through and ask you to sort of give direction on agreeing with the proposals as they stand or making changes. So working on the same lines as what we did for the keeping of animals bylaws. So in terms of how we've got to here, Mel's just going to take you through that.
All right, so the process that has occurred so far, so we started with some initial research and then undertook early engagement with the community between December and February and received 339 responses. Then we did further research and had conversations with key stakeholders such as the Animal Control Contractor and Department of Conservation. And then we held a workshop with councillors in April where we developed the draft bylaw and policy, which was then adopted for consultation and consulted on between 15th of June to 15th of July. So now it's time to work through what we proposed and the feedback we received. So first up, we asked the submitters if they supported the draft bylaw and policy as presented. 54% said that they did, 25% said they didn't support it, and 20% weren't sure, and a couple of submitters only provided comments.
Madam Chair? Sorry, Councillor Kim.
Can I just ask a question on the demographics? Did we ask the people that were commenting on the draft bylaw whether they were dog owners or otherwise?
No. Through the chair, no, we didn't. So we've got summaries on this slide of reasons in support and reasons against. So if we work through the summary document, starting at page 7, page 8, nine.
Councillor Wilson.
So just to clarify, page 7 was Argyle Park, was it?
This is the general question that we asked at the start. We just asked submitters if they generally supported the draft bylaw and policy as they were presented. Okay. And these are comments that we received in that question.
Page 6, with page 7, that was Argyle Park, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a mix of comments through there, so we will focus on those specific exercise areas as we work through the presentation. So,
Right, so if I tell my questions, we get the specifics ones, it'd be a lot easier to deal with, wouldn't it,
Yep.
rather than generally.
Yes, some of the comments have been copied from here into the relevant sections. So page 8, 9, 10.
But page 8, just enforcement education, we'll cover that one off. Effective control as a specific thing.
Yes, there will be separate slides on effective control. That's next.
Councillor Cameron.
I noticed one of the comments around support the drafts as presented. I mean, a lot of these clearly are people that have their dogs, but one comment was, yes, a dog's a family member and should be allowed to visit cemeteries, keep them on the lead, and the councillor to provide the poo bags in this comment. Are we proposing we do that? I do know that in the Ashburton domain, one of the bag sort of, if you like, stations is no longer there, just down from the hockey turf. Is that a proposal, or are we expecting the owners of the dog to manage the dog's business?
Thank you. Through the chair, we do provide poo bags around the district. Part of this bylaw review will be looking at whether other places are needed as for dispensers and bins, and equally with signage to help with that as well. But that will be all dealt with once it's rubber stamped.
Thank you. Can I ask one more question? I understand we have about, and I went through the activity briefings, just over about 6,500 dog registrations per year. I think in the consultation document said 6,300. What percentage of those are rural dogs?
Not at this stage. We'll try and get that information for you.
That would be quite useful, because those rural dogs, I'm assuming their owners aren't going to take Jessie the sheepdog to walk around the domain or up the Enchanted Walk in Methven and things. I think that's really relevant information when we look at statistics later on in the presentation.
Okay.
All right, I think we're on page 9. Page 10. Eleven. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16.
'Councillor Moffat.
Can we go back a piece? There was a comment from someone saying there was an increased number of dog attacks. I believe that would probably be nationwide in places such as Northland. Have we had an increase of dog attacks in mid-Canterbury?
Just going through the stats now. Through the chair, I would say that there's a lot more reported incidents, but not necessarily determined as a dog attack when it's investigated.
So
It could just be like an aggressive rushing where they've been frightened, but it's reported as an attack, but no physical damage.
Do we have the figures around that handy, or can we get those?
Thank you. We can look at providing that for you. It is part of our activity briefings that we provide that information to you. Is this current? Yeah. We've got the whole year activity briefing here if you need to refer to that. but in just June alone, one attack reported, one rushing reported as well. In May, 2 attacks and 1 rushing reported, and it seems to be that those kind of figures we see.
Councillor Moffat?
So just for clarity, would an attack mean teeth piercing skin? Would an attack be dog jumping up? And is it the person or the witnesses who designate it as an attack, or does council designate whether it's an attack or not?
Thank you. Through the chair, it does get quite complicated. The initial, for instance, a parent's reaction will be my child's just been attacked by a dog, and it could be that the dog has rushed and jumped up the person. So going back to the matrix that we use, that forms part of our investigation. In that, was the dog exercised off leash, not under control? Was it just literally out of control, as rushed with intent and aggression? These are all key words that we use. And what was the end result? Was the physical damage, as in a bite, teeth, snarling, aggressive biting, and aggressive attack? All key words that we use.
So by the time that one attack in June is recorded, you've been through that process of the possibilities and what happened, and you have put the word attack on it because it fits the incident. Is that right?
Actually, it's going with the figures that you see in the activity briefing. It's what's reported. If it's an actual attack, we would then put notes in the activity briefing below that, explaining why it's now determined as an attack.
Okay.
All right, we were up to page 15. '16, 17, 18, and 19 is the last of the comments on that question. So now's the part where we're looking for some direction. Were there any comments that you've just read that you wish to make changes to the draft bylaw and policy based on?
Councillor Everest?
Just page 18, submitted 217, which is Companion Animals New Zealand. I thought it was interesting in terms of the following practices and councils to support them, which was actually the microchipping and the registration, the early socialisation, the ongoing care and education, keeping dogs under control, and de-sexing, dependent on individual circumstances. And maybe we just need to keep thinking about some of those things as we go through the rest of it.
Cool. I'll hand over to Rick for this one.
Okay, thank you. Just a point of information for Sorry. Through the chair, just clarifying a point of information. 42% of registered dogs are rural.
42% are rural.
Yes.
So if I just put a fine point on it, of the 6,300, about 42%, we're looking at about about 4,000 are urban. Is that right?
42% are
Yeah.
rural.
Oh, so that's right. So the other 58% are okay. Now, one more question of statistics. What is the population of Ashburton, Lakewood and Tynwald? It's about 21,000, is that right? Thereabouts?
Oh.
Yeah, thank you. Just good statistics to remember, everybody. There's an old expression the tail wagging the dog.
Okay, to continue? Okay, thank you. So, over to me then. So, effective control. What was proposed? We proposed to update the definition of what it means for a dog to be under effective control to mean that the owner or person in charge of a dog is actively paying attention to the dog and what it's doing, close enough to respond quickly to any issues, ensuring the dog responds to commands with prompt recall, and ensuring the dog does not create a nuisance to any other person or to any stock, poultry, domestic animal or protected wildlife. And the reasons why are to help reduce the potential for dog attacks or nuisance by promoting better control of dogs in public places. To clearly explain what's expected of people with dogs, well-defined rules help the animal control staff and contractor more effectively enforce the bylaw, and it also aligns with other councils, with what other councils have in place. And the current bylaw and policy simply state that the dog needs to be responsible to its owner's commands and not creating any sort of nuisance to people, domestic animals or other wildlife. Nuisance includes behaviours such as barking, rushing, attacking or otherwise causing injury, damage, harm or distress. Under effective control, the stats, 82% support, 6% not in support, 12% not sure or other. And reasons in support were a greater owner responsibility, clearer expectations and enforcement, improved public safety, common sense approach, and supports off-leash areas with controls. And the reasons against: definition remains subjective, difficult to enforce, dogs should remain on leash, and stronger controls are needed. So if you turn to the summary of feedback on Stella. The relevant comments for this section are on pages 21 to 33 for councillors to work through. A brief summary of the comments has been provided on the slide, but councillors may wish to work through page by page and discuss.
Councillor Wilson.
Just with regards to effective control, I understand what you're saying there. So if I was a 5-year-old child that didn't have a dog at home and I was, say, standing around my chair here and a dog was roaming around where you're sitting over there, which is about, for the public, about 10 metres away, would that be, on a leash, would that, from that child's point of view, would that be deemed to be effective control?
We would take each case in its own merits.
Probably just to give context, I'm talking about playgrounds, and when we get into that, playgrounds where if a dog's under effective control, I think we have 1 metre away from our playground, and I'm just trying to understand what, from the person, because we talk about other, and we're really worried about people with dog nuisance and people getting attacked or people being intimidated or whatever. We're not probably too concerned in a way about the dog's feelings, because it's the people that we really should be worried about. And so I'm just trying to understand effective control. Does that mean that if my dog is running around over here and I'm standing here, that, or someone else is standing here, because I can see it there, if it's a small fluffy dog, it might take 2 minutes to get to me, but if it's a greyhound, it could take 10 seconds to get to me. So I'm just trying to understand what effective control means in that situation.
So we would, through our contractors who would be on patrol, is you demonstrate that it can be instantly recalled, that it stops what it's doing instantly and recalls back. So we're looking for owners to have a greater awareness of where their dog is at any one time. More often than not, dog owners, when they're out and their dogs are allowed to be off leash, they'll just casually walk in behind them doing what they want, sniffing around and so on. We want that greater awareness.
Can I just add to that, to what Rick's just said, if I may? you'll see as you go through this, the responses that we've got, that we've tried to emphasise that it is always the owner's responsibility to ensure their dog, to the best of their abilities, as we've discussed this morning, and their best, they've taken reasonable steps to keep themselves, their animal, and others safe. So that might mean that they have the dog under on a leash, even if it's in an off-leash area, if that dog doesn't have good recall. It might mean that if there are children playing nearby and they know their dog is reactive, that they might divert around an area. It's effectively just taking individual control for yourself and your animal. There'll be some situations that you can't anticipate. I can imagine a situation where a child might run at a dog, for example. That happens as well. That's clearly out of the responsibility of the dog owner. But as Rick said, when a situation would occur, we'd take all those matters into account. What's reasonable for the parties to have done and to have anticipated in taking the actions that they did.
Councillor Hooper.
Did you want to reply? No. I just had a question for officers, and I hope that Christina Cox is watching. I see she was in the 6% that was not in support, and her comment was as above, and her comment as above was dog owners are already ridiculous with not putting their dogs on leads. They should not be off lead at Lakewood or any other public areas. I bet you got more support and opinions like mine than wanting more areas. You don't go with the majority ever, so I don't know why I'm wasting my time saying this. I'm just wondering if officers were going to point out that Christina was in the 6% not support and the majority was 82%, which she wasn't in.
You've done it for them.
If you want to reply, Mark.
Well, obviously, after this process, we will respond to every submitter. All of this information is public, so she's able to read it online. So that's just our process.
Thanks, Mark.
Councillor Wilson.
It's probably just, I've had time to regroup and think about it. With you by saying effective control, we assume that every dog is under effective control, otherwise, unless it's not, and you're saying the dog control officer has to see them or to be not in effective control. And that's what I'm getting to with regards to the distance that effective control means. If it can stand right there and the playground is a metre, it's under effective control. But then it bites me, it's not under effective control, or it runs at me, it's not under effective control. But what I'm saying is, what would be deemed as a decent distance to give the person the rights to react or to understand, because we're quite risky if a dog is a metre away, we assume it's under effective control, and that person that feels threatened has to assume that. Whereas if there's a distance a bit further, they've got time to react, or that gives them a level of security. So I was just trying to understand that concept. That makes sense?
Through the chair, if the dog owner was in doubt, that dog should be on a lead. So that would be the first point of call that we would be raising with them. But the idea of this bylaw is that it gives our contractors, when they're on patrol, that are already faced with these situations, they can ask for demonstrations to be carried out. If they can see that there's an issue or the person's not fully in control, they can test it.
Councillor Cameron.
I support Richard's perspective. Every dog's under effective control until something happens when it's not under effective control. And that's just the reality of the unpredictable nature of dealing with animals, I'm assuming. And it depends on your appetite for risk, I assume, as to how much risk you're prepared to make that the dog will not be under effective control. And I think that's the question, really. And I also think that the contractors that are looking at the dogs and effective control or otherwise, or managing the pound, are not always there constantly to see where a dog is not under effective control. And that's my comment.
Just on that, it can be expected that a dog owner will know their dog and will know the dog's behaviour and will know whether it's, for example, reactive, or it will run potentially for, if it sees something, or run towards people, or be scared or startled by various stimuli. And so I think it's reasonably expected that the owner will take precautions, even whether or not it's being formally classified or anything else. If the owner knows that it's got an issue with certain situations, then they should not put the dog in those situations, or they should take measures to protect everybody where they can. The councillor is correct that about our compliance officers, but they are not everywhere. And unfortunately, a lot of times they end up after an event's occurred. The primary responsibility for keeping everybody safe in the community is not our animal control contractors, it is the owners of dogs and others that are around them. I think that's the purpose that we're trying to put across with this bylaw.
Councillor Moffat.
I'm probably just repeating what everyone else has said. I think distance is a factor in it, but again, the word is effective. What's effective? And if you're one of those people on country calendar, not that I'm a rural person, and your beautiful border collie is, 500 metres down the paddock, that's still under your effective control, isn't it? Whereas there are some people that may have their little fluffy thing right beside them and it's not under effective control. So it's not really to do with distance, but I think it's a bit like driving a car. You have to have your wits about you, and that's not just dog owners, that's other people as well. Have your wits about you, anticipate, like when you're driving a car, anticipate that person on their bike going in front of you. Am I ready to respond to whatever could happen?
I agree with Julie's comment, but I don't agree with the tenet of it. If I'm going for a stroll with my child in a pushchair, I don't really need to keep my wits about me for your dog or someone else's dog. That's up to the dog owner to keep their wits about them. I'm strolling around appreciating the flora and fauna. So I'm not really prepared to be keeping my wits about me for other people's dogs.
Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Moffat, and she brought up an important point. The locality of effective control is as important as the effective control. On country calendar, when they're out in the hills, if it's not under effective control, the dog keeps running and it's the owner's problem. In a park where there's children playing in the playground, if it's not under effective control, the outcome is quite different. So I think that's where, when we get into a lot of the other ones, effective control is the locality is a part of effective control, I would have thought.
Carry on.
Okay, so if we work through the summary, starting on page 21 for this section, 22, 23, 24, 25.
Councillor Moffat.
Sorry, can I just make one comment? It's on the story that Ashley McCarthy Carnahan sent through, which sounded like quite an unpleasant experience. She had a dog park, which was basically about a misunderstanding, and she ended up getting sworn at, and someone that went to her aid was also sworn at and called a not a very nice name of a female dog. So a lot of this, even though we're talking about dogs, it's human behaviour that we need to think about, actually. How are you when you're in that situation, not just your dog or other people?
Page 26. 27. 28.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Me? Yeah. We're talking about, on 28, effective control. I don't support the change, and talking about the sanctity and respect for the deceased. Are we going to talk about that later on? Shall I reserve my comments for when we come off to the off-leash areas, or What's the strategy there?
Through the chair, we do have slides later
So I'll wait till then.
specifically on
Okay,
cemeteries.
thank you.
Councillor Wilson?
Probably page 29 under Zenda Cas Parvwest, I think it is. Sorry. The last paragraph, having a paper-based definition of effective control is absolutely nothing if it's not being monitored, you know, and that's perhaps that's what I'm perhaps alluding to and what I've been talking about already, that paper-based effective control is all good, but you still need to have limits to ensure that everybody's effective control could be viewed differently. So that's why we need limits to give a buffer, is the word I'd use, between effective control and when my effective control is different to a very well-trained dog.
Page 30. 31. 32.
Councillor Gilkison?
Just in response to the Federated Farmers, how they're talking about public places in relation to working dogs, and how if their dog is on the job moving stock over roads, which is a public place, are we able to make an allowance for that, saying if they're working and they're on the job? Because, I mean, they would be under effective control, so how does that kind of sit with it?
Thank you. Yes, in that respect, we would make allowances. It's working, it's doing its job. So
do we need to amend the bylaw for it, or does it cover that?
Through the chair, we can go away and have a look at that and bring back a recommendation when we provide the final bylaw and policy for adoption.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I would strongly support that.
Cool. Page 32 and 33.
okay, so based on the feedback, do you still agree with the updated definition of effective control?
With those amendments, I think, yeah. Everybody else? Any nodding, any not nodding? I think it looks like we're basically in agreement with that. Before we move on, given the time, do we want to stop for a break? Okay, if people don't need a break, we'll box on. Okay, yep, carry on.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so
Councillor
on
Wilson?
to-
Just clarify.
sorry.
So when you talk effective control, that is all to do with the person who owns the dog, what they view as effective control. That has nothing to do with the other person who's standing over there. They have, from what I read, that effective control, active detention. Yes, they're doing that close enough to it. They're holding it here, ensuring the dog remains responsive. That's all great. But effectively, it could be off its leash and it could walk directly past me. Therefore, I have no rights to. I've got to actually. The person walking has to go and swerve away over there because if they feel threatened by the dog. So that's what I'm saying. Effective control. There's no pushback the other direction from the affectee, I'll call it. You know, this is all about the person and their dog, their view, rather than, you know, does effective control mean you stay away from other people with your dog or whatever? Does that, none of that comes into it, or I'm just interested to understand that concept.
Again, through the chair, the onus of responsibility is really on the dog owner to ensure that their dog is under effective control. If that means moving away or taking the dog away, it's not down to the child or the person being walked towards to react for them. Okay, so removals and reductions, Pioneer Park. So what was proposed? Council proposed to treat Pioneer Park the same as other cemeteries and remove it from our list of exercise areas. This means that dogs will either be prohibited from Pioneer Park under the current rules or allowed into the park on a leash if Cemetery's proposal was adopted. And the reasons why we feel this is consistent with other rules, including Cemetery's bylaw, helps protect graves, landscaping and memorials, and respects the purpose of the space.
Councillor Wilson.
Is this still a cemetery?
Yes, through the chair, it is a cemetery. It's a closed cemetery, though.
So could you just perhaps enlighten us? Because a cemetery is a cemetery to me, but is a closed cemetery a different scenario to it?
Yes, a closed cemetery is where you don't undertake any more burials.
And how long does, and when you close a cemetery, how long a time between A and B is it? Effectively, is there a period of time, 20 years after burials, or 1 year, or 1 week, or how does that occur?
A closed cemetery is a cemetery that has graves in it, but we don't use it for any burials and don't plan to.
Councillor Moffat.
How long has it been since someone was buried there?
I don't have the exact years, but a long time.
Decades? How,
Yeah.
50 years, 100 years?
I think roughly around 100 years.
So just to clarify, when we're talking this cemetery, then we're not talking the same as other cemeteries. So you're not actually talking a cemetery. You're almost, I just really like to understand, if it becomes a park, is it a closed cemetery or a park? Just because, I think you've used the word cemetery up there. Cemetery should be treated consistently. Well, if this is, it's a long reach to me. A closed cemetery to an active cemetery are quite different things. So I'd just like to understand that to me is the crux of this one, effectively.
Yeah, so we have 16 cemeteries in total. 5 of them are closed, meaning that we do not accept any burials in those cemeteries anymore, and 11 are open cemeteries. And cemeteries are just another type of park, just to confuse it even more.
The difference with this one slightly is there's a lot of open green space without headstones here.
Just for clarification, are we better to defer this until we have talked about cemeteries? Or do you want to do this now when we haven't addressed cemeteries?
I think that's a good suggestion.
Well, the difference with this one is that currently dogs are allowed on it. The proposal under the bylaw was that it would be removed as an off-leash area. But if we're still to discuss the cemeteries issue, which talked about potentially having dogs on leash on cemeteries, which was what the bylaw went out on.
Yeah, because otherwise we potentially set this up to be an outlier.
So we can still decide for it not to be a off-leash area, and we'll have that other conversation around cemeteries a bit later.
Okay. So people are happy to carry on discussing this, or do you want to?
Yeah, I think we should keep discussing it because it is an outlier. It's not really in the same category as, other cemeteries at all. It has become what, maybe we need to rename it, Pioneer Memorial Garden or something. Yeah, it is quite different.
Councillor Moffat, did you have more to add? Okay. Councillor Hooper?
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be deferred. I think we can deal with it now. And I'm happy enough to go with the support that it shouldn't be an off-leash area.
Right. Councillor Gilkison?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point that in the statistics, a lot of the not sures others were people who aren't from the area and don't know it. So if you take them out, those that support it is more like 70%. So I think that's worth noting.
Right, would you like to?
Thank you. So 54% of submitters supported the proposal to remove Pioneer Park, 20% did not, and 26% weren't sure or suggested an alternative. And the reasons in support with cemeteries should be treated consistently, respect for burial area, dogs should be on leash only, cultural and memorial considerations, and reasons against: closed cemetery, loss of off-leash space, no significant issues reported, and retain the status quo.
Just one moment, we've got a comment from Bert. Or has he just left his light on? Oh, sorry, carry on.
Sorry. So if you turn to the summary of feedback on Stella, relevant comments for this section are on pages 35 to 41 for us to work through.
Councillor Wilson.
So I accept that it's, from what you've said, it's a cemetery that's been shut many years ago. So then, if it's, then I'll start thinking as a park. So in that area of Ashburton, how many parks are there? So that obviously we're talking about a park where children kick their rugby ball and play. So, just as a means of, we're turning it from a park into a dog running area. So I'd just like to understand the difference between, what parks are in that area. Because we have a policy of within so many hectares, within so many metres of a house. Does this one, how important is this park to that area of Ashburton?
Tony.
I think, just for clarification, this will still be treated as a park. We're not changing the status of it. All that we're looking to do here is just remove the fact that it can be an off-leash area as it is currently. So it will still be included in the calculation. In terms of the actual question, which is to do with the number of parks in that area, we'd have to go and pull up a map and show you those numbers, but it still will continue to be a park in this space.
I think it is in, through the chair, it is in reasonably close proximity to the Ashburton Dog Park, I believe. I don't know the exact, but it's in the general area.
About 3 or 4 blocks away.
Councillor Hoover.
Yeah. I think is there a memorial in the back corner, Bert, you might know, that's been done up?
Yes, there is a memorial there. Yep.
So probably just the thought of a dog running free and having a pee all over that, sort of, if your family members are buried there, then that's not ideal.
Councillor Gilkison.
How big is this park?
We'll just put it on screen, so just that helps the conversation maybe.
The park's about 6,677 square metres.
Yeah, because I take on Neil English, his comment that says simple, it's not fenced. And if it's small and not fenced, and it's quite an urban area, that it's, I'd support this.
Any other further comments? So, in general, people support this being removed as an off-leash area. Okay. Looks like we've got agreement. Carry on.
Cool. If we want to work through the pages in the summary, it starts at 35. 36. 37. 38. 39. 40. And 41. So we can.
So, based on the feedback, do you still agree with removing Pioneer Park as a dog exercise area?
Everyone still in support?
Just clarify, as an off-leash.
As an off-leash.
If you walk through there with your dog on a leash, diagonally, that's still acceptable by our bylaw as it's
it's an off-leash area that it's...
Yeah, through the chair, the proposal was to remove Pioneer Park as an off-leash area, so you can still take your dog on a lead.
The problem with that is because it's zoned as a cemetery, our rules say you can't have a dog in a cemetery
Yeah.
regardless, doesn't it?
Through the chair, sorry, under the current bylaw, dogs would be prohibited
Yes.
because it's classed as a
It's
cemetery.
cemetery.
We state that dogs are prohibited from all cemeteries. But under the proposal, which was to allow dogs in cemeteries on a leash, you would be able to take your dog there.
So we're going to talk about that a little bit further on.
Moving on.
So the next change that council proposed was the reduction of the off-leash area at Smallbone Drive Reserve, leaving only the area east of Smallbone Drive designated as off-leash. This was proposed due to the fact that disc golf has been established in the reserve since the last review of the bylaw and policy, and changing the area would help to reduce the potential for problems, as dogs would be required to be on lead in the disc golf area.
Councillor Gilkison.
I had a thought around this one and Lake Hood, given the nature of how they're used and also when it's popular, because there is a lot of comments around that it is a great place to walk your dog off leash. There is a lot of space, and typically when I go past this, I don't see a lot of people using this, but have we considered seasonality and timeframes? So for example, in the summertime, if you walk your dog before 9 and after 5, because maybe there's not a lot of people using the park for disc golf during that time, and then it still allows dogs to get the proper exercise that they need to be healthy and then less aggressive and things like that. Is that something that maybe we could do? And would it get support? Does anyone have an opinion?
Councillor Hooper.
Yeah, that's probably not going to work. There are a number of disc golfers who play all year and a lot who play after work. They head straight there after work, so after 5 sort of thing. I've spoken to a lot of the disc golfers about this, and I don't think any of them or very few of them have actually submitted. And they work in very well with the dog walkers. There's a bit of give and take, although there has been the odd disc getting picked up and run away with, and which isn't ideal. And as the sport grows, which it seems to be continuing to do, I think there's probably going to be more of that. But there is also a sentiment that it was a dog exercise park originally, and then the disc golfers came along, so there's a wee bit of that sentiment as well. But generally they get on pretty well, and the dog walkers are pretty respectful, and the disc golfers just wait for them to get out of the way generally. But it's probably not ideal going forward that they're both in the same spot. Probably the other option, which is just over Smallbone Drive, is an area that's maybe overlooked because of where the disc golf is, and perhaps people just don't seem to. So I think once actually the dog walkers are pushed there and they've got their own area there, they'll realise that is actually quite a good spot for exercising, the alternative, which is literally across the road. So I think that's a really good alternative.
Councillor Moffat.
I do wonder if this one is a solution looking for a problem. As Councillor Hooper said, it seems that people do get along quite harmoniously there, and there's several comments in the submissions around that, about people thinking the activities can coexist. So, I think it's nice to mix and mingle sometimes. People just getting used to each other, people being more tolerant to their various activities and understanding each other. If it's working pretty well there, then why upset that? That's how I look at it.
Any other comments from anyone? Okay.
Cool. So if we look at the feedback that was received, 53% of submitters were in support of the the reduction of the off-leash area at Smallbone Drive Reserve. 21% were not in support, and 26% weren't sure or suggested alternatives. So some reasons in support were the conflict with disc golf, improvement of safety, and reflects the current reserve use and shared use space. And some reasons against were that uses can coexist, there would be a loss of exercise space, the dog area existed first, and there's no evidence of a problem. So if we work through the summary.
Councillor Wilson.
I see one comment there about Range Street area. Can you just perhaps enlighten us on what that means? There's a comment there that says the Range Street, it's the dump which is being remediated, I guess. Is that what it's about? Or
Through the chair, so that Range Street area behind the Resource Recovery Park was adopted sort of during the tenure of the last bylaw as being I guess it was referred to as an informal dog park, and there's provision in this review here to more formalise that. It is also used for various disposal. It was used for disposal purposes after the CBD redevelopment, and there's other works that go on there at various points. And so it is actually an active disposal construction site at various points where it's not safe for animals, but the intention is that it will be opened at some point in the future when it's safe to do so.
Cool, so looking at page 43, 44,
Councillor Hooper.
Do you have an image at all of the area with the road running through it, and then the proposed or the downsized piece handy that you could fire up?
I can bring the map back up. So we're proposing to remove this part and just leave this one.
It would still be an on-leash area, so it's just being removed as an off-leash area, is the proposal.
Sorry, say that again, Mike?
The area that would, the top area, so it would still remain as an on-leash area.
Okay.
So we're just looking to remove the off-leash, and then the
But
area,
the bottom area,
the area
would be
below
off-leash.
is off-leash, correct?
Yeah.
Any further comments, Councillor Hooper?
No.
Back in the summary, page 45. Uh, 46.
Councillor Gilkison.
I do just want to make a comment on the seasonality. I see the comment around whether there could be off-leash outside day hours kind of things. It's very popular in beach towns, and it's very well adhered to. And I remember staying in Whangamata one Easter, and it's like a highway before 9 a.m. As soon as 9 a.m. hits, no dogs. And then again, as soon as 7 or 8 p.m. hits, the dogs are back on. So it actually does work really well. And yeah, I do think that we should give it some consideration because people do appreciate being able to put their dogs off leash. And I take it on board that, you know, disc golfers go after work. So I actually think that doing it at 7 or 8 at night is still fine for people who walk their dogs late.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. I think that's quite a good innovative approach, and it might be a good transition initially because, I mean, the dogs were there first, if you like, but
So would councillors like to consider an option of having a time frame? Councillor Moffat?
Yeah, I think it's worth looking at, but I think we need to really think about when are the high traffic hours kind of thing for disc golfers. And is it seasonal? Do people play less in winter? Or, you know, if they don't really play disc golf in winter, then it could be dogs off lead or during winter or something. I don't know. But maybe just to know what the traffic is like for dogs and disc golfers.
Go Ian and then I'll go.
Just 2 points. Firstly, having walked my dog down through there on the weekend, I can tell it was pretty wet, and there weren't a lot of disc golfers around at that point, but there were later in the afternoon. The other thing that I was just thinking, if councillors were willing to consider it, one option is to have it, as my understanding is that it's a little bit difficult to play frisbee golf in the dark. So I wonder if it was something like 1 hour or half an hour before sunset and half an hour after sunrise or something like that, which would give a reasonable time frame and be flexible seasonally.
Councillor Cameron?
I think that's a good suggestion, but given that we're changing a whole lot of things in this bylaw because people are confused, and I suggest, you know, when you look at Argyle Park, people are confused where the on-leash and off-leash areas are. That could be confusing, but I support it.
Any further comments? Councillor Hooper?
Yeah, believe it or not, they do actually play frisbee golf, not in the dark, but they have fluoro discs and they light up the cages. Okay. So I'm just saying, not that I don't play anymore, so, but yeah, I think probably once, yeah, if it's leash, or even I take on board Deb's comment, if it's out of some hours, then it's off leash. But once the alternative is explored over the road, I think, and that's a full-time off leash, dogs only, sort of, I think that will probably become reasonably popular. And maybe people just don't really think of it as an area where they could run their dogs now because of what they've traditionally done. So, yeah, I think there's plenty of room for give and take, and
yeah, well, you know, depending on whether the decision is made, the current disc golf area will still be an on-leash area. It's not a no-dog area. So, yeah, it's just a thought. Yep. So do we want to go for Councillor Gilkison?
I was just going to suggest for making it as clear as possible, though I like the idea of using sunrise and sunset. To me, my eyes cross when I think about what that time is. If it was just before 9 and after 8 p.m, I think it makes it simple. And then outside of those hours, people are welcome to put leads on. But it gives an option. Like, I know, you know, when you're a dog owner and you get home from work late, or you've had something after work and then you get home and you still have to take your dog out and you actually don't have time to go for a big walk, you want to throw a ball and let them run, it's just a really good option for the early morning and late night for the busy working person, I think.
Councillor Ellis?
Yeah, I would support that, and then it would leave the busiest time period for disc golf. There would only be dogs on leads at that time, and those other periods, yeah, so I would support.
Councillor Cameron?
Are we talking weekdays or all week? All week. Because disc golfers are probably like you, Debs, and that they probably work during the day and run home and want to have a game of disc golf. You know, like everybody has a very similar life, pretty much. Well, yeah, it's just a thought. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but perhaps we just restrict it to weekdays, you know, make it more complicated.
Can I make a suggestion? One suggestion we could do is to check in with our colleagues at EA Networks just to work out what the highest rated, what the highest level of rentals are for their disc golf equipment, you know, when people are hiring them and when they're returning them. That'll probably give us a reasonable idea of what the use rates are. terms of days of the week, and we could possibly use that to give some options.
But would the pros bring their own stuff? So they wouldn't know?
They would, but, sorry, through the chair, they would, but the issue is that it's not actually an actively controlled site, so we don't actually know or have numbers on how many people and when they're going through. It's only sort of anecdotal unless we had somebody camped out there for a week actually looking to see when people were actually there. So it's probably the best we're going to get if we're going to...
Yeah, I mean, I feel like 8 p.m. is pragmatic because, yes, there might be some overlap, and yes, some disc golfers may overlap with dogs, but they do already. But if they don't want to have a dog there, then they can make an effort to get there earlier. Yeah, it's kind of like a middle ground, and if anything, the dog is worse off for the 8 p.m., you know. I think it's a reasonable time. Just my thoughts to keep it clear and, yeah, not get too down a rabbit hole.
Oh, sorry.
Is it ready to talk? Just something to think about. Obviously, this has to be enforced, so it needs to be really clear to dog owners what the rules are down there, especially make it clear for the contractor because it is such a big area and signage all around there. There's a lot of different entries, so as long as it's really clear on what is going to be down there, because there will be signs that would have to go up if it's all different hours, weather dependent, it's really hard to enforce.
Just to add to that, that Fran raises a good point that the simpler it is for our contractor and for administration, the better. So while this is a question for us, but also for council, bringing in these different rules will probably make it a little bit more difficult to administer because people will find it more difficult to administer than to understand than if you simply say one area is on leash, one area is off leash. That's the easiest way to transition from an administrative perspective. But we understand completely that it's council's decision, and we'll work with you.
Councillor Hooper.
Given that there's a bit of a theme that there's no major issue there, are we able to, in a year's time, if all of a sudden there are dogs hightailing it with discs, alter this one piece of the... No, I'm looking at your expression, Mark.
I mean,
you didn't have to say anything.
You can, like I said earlier, you can do a bylaw review at any time, but obviously we have schedules. I guess the issue that may come up is that the government is reviewing the Dog Control Act currently, so potentially that may come up again next year, which could force some other changes to our bylaws. So we'd sort of monitor that along the way. So potentially you could be doing another round later. Next year.
Next year, yeah. I'd be happy enough to probably leave it as it is for now, and then readdress in a year. Given the theme and the disc golfers that I've talked to, and maybe we could promote the other area across the road as another. That's maybe just not on people's radars, dog walkers' radars down there, perhaps.
Other councillors support that suggestion?
Leaving it off limb.
For now, and promote the other area, and then depending on the dog control legislation next year, potentially revisit it. Is that the steer we're thinking about? Some nodding. Is that clear enough? As clear as mud?
Yep, so we leave it as and revisit potentially if the Dog Control Act comes up again.
Okay. You want to keep... Do you want more clarity?
I'm not sure. Are we adding the new area and promoting that as well as keeping the old area?
Yeah. Well, encouraging people to go to where we want them to be in the future. You know? gentle nudge.
Okay, so looking like leaving it as it is.
For now, I think. Is that, yeah.
Is the other area not a dog exercise park, quote unquote, at the moment?
It's currently an off-leash area. I think it's just not as regularly used as the other part.
Yeah. So maybe some comms around encouraging people in that direction. Potentially. Okay, so do you have enough steer from that?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Our next one is Argyle Park. Do we want to have a break? Because we've been told we need to have a break. So we will be back at, what are we? In 10 minutes, so, yeah, say 1:45. Is that all right? Right, we'll break for 10 minutes and be back at 4:45. Thank you. the debate and what have you. We'll have the team present first, we'll go through the submissions, and then we're going to do the questions at the end. So it's, I get the process right. Sweet. Down to you guys.
All right, Argyle Park. So, council proposed to extend the off-leash area at Argyle Park to include the entire park, excluding the sports fields within 1 metre of playgrounds and in car parks. The reasons for the proposal were that it would be easier to understand where dogs are allowed off-leash, and it aligns with feedback already received. While the extension was the preferred option, an alternative option was provided, which was to change the entire park to an on-leash, meaning Argyle Park would be removed as an off-leash area. Okay, so 59% of submitters supported the proposal to extend the off-leash area at Argyle Park. 18% supported the removal of the off-leash areas, and 23% weren't sure or suggested an alternative. So if you turn to the summary of feedback on Stella, the relevant comments for this section are on pages 52 to 67 to work through.
So if we start at 52, 53, 54.
Councillor Wilson.
Just a question around, it says Argyle Park is used by a lot of people. Is it getting more busier? That's the question.
Yeah, I can answer that through the chair. We don't have numbers, but definitely it's a lot more popular since we've added the asphalt path around the perimeter. It's become very, very popular as a walking circuit.
Councillor Cameron.
I noticed some of the comments are supportive of off-leash, but they do comment that that some dog owners are irresponsible and don't pick up their dog mess on the walk, even though they're supporting the off-leash thing. So this is a consideration if you've got sports going on that afternoon or whatever.
Yep.
Cool. Page 55.
Councillor Hooper.
Just a quick question. The sport comment, there's no football played there anymore. That's all on the domain these days. Is there only like football practice during the week? And there's maybe some kids tournament stuff there? Maybe, yeah, softball, some softball. Do you know? Oh,
yep. I think there is some softball competitions.
Yeah.
I'm not sure around the rest of the other sports that you mentioned.
There's no football goalposts go up at all, do you know? No.
Just to add to that, there's a lot of people doing recreation activity like running and walking and power walking and throwing the ball or whatever they're doing, yeah. But I don't think it's a lot of organised activity.
From what I understand, the football teams train there in the evenings because it has the lights, whereas the domain doesn't. So the senior teams train there in the evenings.
Sorry.
Yep.
Very quickly, just to let you know, just to emphasise that dogs are prohibited on all playing surfaces and public sports grounds. They are currently, and that's proposed to retain. So there should not be dogs whether on or off leash on.
Cool. Thank you for that clarification. We can carry on.
Cool. Page 56. 57. 58. 59. 60. 61. 62. 63, 64, 65.
Councillor Cameron.
On page 58, we've got, I support removing the off-leash areas. So that means on-leash.
Carry on.
66 and 67. So based on the feedback received, does council still agree to extending the off-leash area at Argyle Park?
Right, and we'll throw it open to questions. So, Councillor Wilson.
I'll start at 85. There's one that says small dog rated about big dogs. Off-leash dogs sometimes run towards children. These dogs are on the playing fields around the playgrounds. Big dogs groups are running into other people. Someone is not very confident. I'm concerned about large dogs running towards me. Has been told a lot of accidents from dogs frightening cyclists and runners. Dogs and children can be a dangerous combination. I've relatively serious injured. Poor behaviour of dogs in the playground. I'm just listing some of the comments, and they're all quite consistent. So it does concern me that we're going to increase the leash area. And I think there's one comment there about the 1 metre from a playground. I totally understand if it's on a leash, 1 metre, because it's on a leash and it stops. But if it's not on a leash, if you were a grandparent, I'm pretty sure you probably wouldn't take your little Johnny to the playground if you knew there was dogs off leash. I think you'd be remiss if you did. From many, you probably wouldn't see your grandchildren anymore if you took them there and they got eaten by dogs. So it worries me that if you show the map, the playground has. Why bother putting a playground there if you're going to off leash dogs there? It doesn't. In map 4, where it currently is, above the end of Middle Road up top where the playground is, we can have dogs running through there. So I question why we would have that. I do understand that there's some off-leash stuff around, yes, definitely, but I just question the areas where the kids and that are. We've got off-leash dogs.
Councillor Cameron.
I support Richard Wilson's comments. I read submitter number, page 61, submitter number 210, Wendy Matthews. The poor behaviour of many dogs has made the playground an unsafe space for my family. Being scratched, having food stolen out of my kids' hands and being rushed every other time we visit. Yes, there are plenty, and this is the crux of it, there are plenty of considerate dog owners, but there are many others that don't see the problem. And I think that's the reality of it. And we have to make sure that those that don't see the problem in our community are protected from those that don't see the problem. And there are certainly very responsible dog owners. Many dogs, and I think submitter number 58 has made the comment that he knows somebody has suffered an injury when he fell from his bicycle when he was rushed by a dog at Argyle Park. I'm also, I think, very familiar with that particular person, and he actually ended up in a nursing home. Again, this dog was off leash and supposed to be under effective control, and this was not the case. So I think we have to remember that most people are good and are trying to do the right thing, but there's always a minority that are not doing the right thing, or their dogs are younger or more excitable or get distracted with smells or sniffs or whatever they get distracted with. And so people generally fall foul of this.
Councillor Moffat.
I support the change to make the whole of the perimeter of the park off lead, mainly because it's such a small area that's required to be on lead, and people just, it doesn't cross their minds when they're going around there. Plus, there is so much support for consistency in that. And particularly, there are a couple of people that live nearby. One of them says they see the park as an extension of their garden and they use it daily, and they love how people interact, and the dogs are, in general, very well behaved. I do think, though, the 1 metre distance from the playground is a bit weird. I think that is the one area where you should put a dog on a lead, only because that is just safety for anybody around there. It's not necessarily the dogs running up to the children, but the children running up to the dog, particularly if it's cute. And if it's cute, well, that can be deceptive because they're the ones that can do the bitey. So that's it for me. All off lead, apart from around the playground.
Councillor Cameron.
In response to the less confusing, I mean, we've had a very confusing discussion about down a small bone drive and the frisbee golf, the disc golf. So I don't buy that less confusing, and I think to make it less confusing, dogs should be on lead all the time around Argyle Park. And I go back to that statistic where we have 21,000 people living in Ashburton, Timwood and Lakewood, and I worked out 58% of 6,500, and it was 3,770 dogs in Ashburton, Lakewood and Timwood, I'm assuming. So I think you've got to be careful who we're making this bylaw for, and we need to make sure that it fits the needs of our community, and I doubt that convenience and less confusing is reason enough to change the off-leash area in Argyle Park. In fact, I'd have it all on leash.
Are there any further comments? I don't know that we've got a very clear steer. Councillor Hooper.
Well, I'm probably not going to help that, to be fair, but we'll give it a nudge. I personally don't have any experience here, but I've spoken to some people who use it regularly and some passionate off-leash dog people who, like we've all said, the majority are doing things right. But the news in the last few days has scared me, and I would hate that to be on our radar. It seems like incredible timing at the moment that we're talking about all this, and yeah, to have dogs off leash around a kid's playground is just not sitting with me at all. So yeah, we definitely need to talk about that for a start.
Councillor Moffat.
As well as the submissions, I did my own straw poll actually around there and talked to quite a few people over a period of about a week. And none of them, I said, oh, how do you feel about, you know, the whole thing being off lead? Oh, is it not already all off lead? I'm fine. This is people with and without dogs. I spoke to a young man in an electric wheelchair also, and he was like, I've never been bothered. It's fine. So, you know, I did go down there and talk to a cross-section of people and the people coming through in the submissions as well. Again, let's not create a problem for a solution.
Break it up into two parts.
Yeah. In terms of the playground versus, yeah. Okay, so I'm just talking with Ian. So maybe we break it down a little bit as in off leash for the bulk of Argyle Park and then the consideration of around the play area. Are people happy to do that? Councillor Ellis.
I'm happy to talk about it. I was just going to ask a question of staff, I suppose, because already we have that confusion around Argyle Park that some is and some isn't. Do you think putting a sign up to say in this next 30 metre strip you have to put your dog on a lead will really make that happen for most people? Or and the consequences of a dog attack, even though there's a sign up, really is irrelevant, isn't it? The dog's not going to read the sign.
I guess it comes back to that dog still has to be under effective control.
Councillor Cameron.
And just going back to the comment with regards to how do we protect if the dog's off lead, what are we going to say, come here, George, or whatever his name is, and put him on the lead while we walk past the playground? That I don't think, if the dog's found another dog to play with and he's shot across a Argyle Park, I don't see how that's going to work, because we're talking about dogs that are not under effective control, which there are dogs that are not under effective, despite us saying they've got to be under effective control. They're often not under effective control because of the nature of a dog. And everybody that owns a dog, and I know, Julie, you own a dog, and I know that your dog's very obedient, but sometimes they are not. And to minimise two people that I know, their injury at Argyle Park, which have changed their life considerably, I don't think is kind, to be honest. and that does happen, and it's a big deal, I think. So I certainly don't support it.
In terms of, because I haven't done my research enough, if council has a bylaw that is too vague or too difficult to enforce, or we choose something that is not prescriptive enough, where does the council stand in terms of liability if someone is injured?
Through the chair, very good question. I would have to look into that where we stand legally. Perhaps Tanya would be able to throw some light on that. She's not here at the moment, but I think
Just to turn this around a little bit through the chair, I think when we're looking at these situations, the council and our contractors and our staff can only do so much. We can impose a bylaw to deal with and to control various things such as off-leash behaviour, how people, what is effective control. Once again, there will always be that element of personal responsibility where a dog owner must actually take some responsibility for the actions of their dog. To the councillor's point, some dogs will race off and run across the park. If you know your dog's going to do that, you shouldn't have it off the leash, because it's not supposed to be on the playing field. The reason why it's not supposed to be on the playing field is because if it defecates or makes a mess and a kid slips over in that or does something, it can get really, really sick. And it's an antisocial behaviour. So the reasons are there. We're recommending these solutions because we think that they are the best way that the council can address these concerns. At your discretion as to whether or not you agree, of course. But at the end of the day, there's a requirement for the community and the dog owners to actually follow those requirements and be responsible citizens. Our contractors will be out there and they will be looking and trolling, and if they see something that's in breach of the bylaw, they'll take an educative approach or, if necessary, take action. But fundamentally, it does still come down to the people that are dog owners that need to actually take that responsibility to some degree.
Councillor Gilkison.
I've just been weighing things up in my head because although I'm usually pro off leash, when I was in Argyle Park, I think what strikes me is the fact that you've got these nicely paved walkways everywhere, which is more likely going to be people biking and things like that. I think it's different in Smallbone because it's just a big grassy patch. It's actually way better for walking the dog and letting the dog run, whereas here you're kind of guiding everyone around on the same path with dogs going everywhere, and it's actually not a wide margin. And I guess that's what concerns me as an off-leash area. It's not a typical off-leash area. It's not really designed for dogs to be roaming all over the place, though I do understand if they're in effective control that, but it doesn't take a lot for something bad to happen in those circumstances if you've got someone biking past quickly.
Councillor Wilson.
It goes back to my earlier question around this bylaw is in place to 2036, and as we know, above that there's potential of a large subdivision. So this is going to become one of the, as it's become from when I first came on council, it was a dirt paddock at the end, not quite, but it's had a lot of money spent on it, and I'm sure it will continue to be developed because it is one of the growth areas of Ashburton. And effectively a comment was made in there that we're turning it, if it's going to be a dog park, call it a dog park, not a park. So that, by going from map 4 actually had some constraints, not about dogs. The dogs were allowed there, they just weren't allowed on leash. But from going from map 4 to map 5, we're effectively going from some where if you wanted to go for a walk there, you could walk in areas where you knew the dogs were there, but they're on a leash. Whereas now you're going, the whole park is effectively off-leash park. So I'm just saying it changes the dynamics of that park, and it is an important park in our district because it's going to grow. So that's why I thought the maps perhaps didn't have half the park was on leash and half was off. So there's no alternative for people walking. You can't walk around that park. You have to retrace your steps if you don't want to go with this off-leash park. In the same context, if you want to take your dog for a walk, you've got to put it on the leash somewhere. So I just think the maps perhaps don't make sense.
And the fact that the new subdivision is going ahead. Right, do I have any form of steer from councillors as to leash and on leash and off leash? None. Councillor Hooper.
Yeah, well, it's a hard one, isn't it? I mean, I'd be interested to know what the results of the survey would have been had they been started now after the news of the last couple of days about the wee fella up in Christchurch, and whether that would change. But we've still got, I think it's 58%, the majority of us telling us that they're in favour of this extension. Are we going to listen to them, or are we going to say we actually know better? But I guess the buck and the blame stops with us, doesn't it? So that's the difference to a submitter. And some of those submitters, obviously, who support are still saying, I support, but, and a lot of them have different ideas, but a lot seem to be saying around the kiddies' playground. So yeah. that is a definite for me, an on-leash area around the kids' playground, not just a metre.
Yep. Councillor Moffat?
Yeah, that child's fatal mauling was definitely a huge tragedy. It did, however, happen on private property. So I'd just like to ask the officers, how many bad attacks happen on private property compared to in public spaces?
Thank you. Through the chair, I know of a number of cases that weren't reported to us. We found out via doctors that the incident had taken place, and that's sometimes an issue we have if a family pet is involved.
Councillor Gilkison?
Sorry, I've just lost my train of thought. Yeah, I mean, I'm just having a quick look through all the submissions again, because it is largely in favour, but then a lot of the comments have a but in them. So whilst they say, yes, I support, quite often there is a but, and then these people aren't doing it. So I don't think it's a fully support in every sense of the word. Would we consider a seasonal approach? You know, before 9 a.m, after 8 p.m, it could work.
Well, I think the other thing we could also take into consideration is that the Dog Control Act is changing next year. Is there something we want to adopt now that may or may not be changed next year? Is my thought. Russell.
Thank you. When I look at some of the reasons, it was around that confusion as well. So for me, if you made the whole area an on-leash area, it takes away some of that confusion. So that's some of those people who supported it because of the confusion. I feel we have other off-leash areas, like we've just kept where the disc golf is as an off-leash area. We have a designated dog park. If we do a little bit of work on Rain Street, I'm sure we could have another off-leash dog. And there are areas where people who want to run their dogs with other dogs can go, and those people who have children or elder people, they're not going to go there if they don't want to mingle with those. I think this is a fantastic family facility. Lots of walkers, cyclists, prams, buggies, all sorts of things going around there. And dogs on a lead, I have no problem. But for the reasons Deb said earlier, because it is such a designated walkway and to keep them under effective control, the dogs and the people are all very close together, I would only support it with dogs on a leash only. Yeah, put my line in the sand.
Right, we'll keep some comments concise so we can move on. So Councillor Moffat.
My last statement, build a fence around the playground and keep the children in.
With a padlock?
Councillor Gilkinson.
I know that there has been talk about building structure, proper dog enclosed park. Is it part of the LTP for Argyle Park to have an area? Or is it being considered?
Not currently. It's not, it would need to probably potentially be a business case, but it could be something you could consider if you wanted to bring it through to the LTP.
I think it might be a good idea to consider, because the more I think about it, the more I think on leash is the best option.
Councillor Cameron.
I support on leash. I think it would be nice to have a dog park up there, but there isn't, and it's a very big residential area, and there's a lot of rest homes around there as well that people walk around, and sometimes as we get older we're not as steady in our gait as we may well have been, and it doesn't take much to tip us up. So I think we need to respect that, and respect the playground, and respect the people that are using it, and also the dogs and the dog owners, and it should be on leash.
Councillor Wilson.
I support the current one, which is where the summer's off leash and summer's on, because there is a lot of people that go off leash there, and I'm not saying it all off leash. I'm just saying some areas at the moment the bits don't join up, which doesn't make sense. So whether you went to the outside of the park was off leash, so that you gave people the opportunity to be able to walk in an on leash area, and if they chose to go into the off leash area, well, that's fine. But at the moment it's quite hard. If you look there, you've got to put your dog off a leash, on a leash, off a leash, on a leash, a couple of 3 times. Where if the middle road section and the bit in the middle was maybe on leash, that would keep them off the grounds. It would give people an area to walk, but it would leave the outside. And I think we would face quite a backlash if we said on leash in that park, because there's obviously a lot of people who value it, but to make it a mixed use park potentially.
So you're suggesting map 4, but including Middle Road as the off leash as well?
And I'm saying map 4, but if you wanted,
Oh, sorry.
And map 4, if you wanted to increase the area, the circle bulge at the top. So the yellow effectively goes around the stream side, the back part of the park up, but from the playground through to Middle Road and the centre,
right,
which should keep dogs off. It would help to keep dogs off the playing area, because I'm guessing if they go to sport, they pull up in the car park and set their gear up off the Middle Road section. But the back corner, that's the back corner of the park. I'm suggesting an option maybe to fulfil both needs.
Can I just clarify on map 4? Is the green bit on lead or off lead?
Map 4, the green is the off lead currently.
Yeah, because that seems counterintuitive to me.
Yeah.
Those are the bits I would have definitely
Yeah.
thought should be on lead.
Yeah.
I think that, and my colleagues might clarify if need, but I think the issue that we have at the moment is, as Councillor Wilson said, that it's a little bit counterintuitive at the moment, because there isn't a loop. There are various points where people have to put their dogs on and take them off the leash, and it doesn't make logical sense to the average user. That's the issue right now.
I think people don't they park at the top there by Parkdale Place up there? I don't think they park down Middle Road. Well, there's quite a big car park off the bit at the top. You know, see where the dog, yeah, thank you, move the cursor there. Yeah, that's sort of the car park area. It does seem odd to have it, you got to go up and back and then across, doesn't it? It does seem a little bit odd where it is. I take your point, Richard, with regards to, we did have a lot of submissions that said, you know, that they support the use of it and they like walking around there. But the person that I know that fell off, it was actually in an area that was supposed to be no dogs, and the dog was running and wasn't under effective control. Like the person said, come here, and the dog carried on doing what it was doing. So this whole effective control needs a bit of practice, I think.
So are people thinking that we would create one actual loop bit that makes a sensible off leash area, and then leave the other bit on leash? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm suggesting if you started at the car park at the bottom corner and went up and around the back and went, even if, I don't know, go straight through to the top up to Farm Road and keep going round down and then stopped before you got to the playground, a bit down further, stopped. You have a T in the centre which is on lead, which from the parks, from the sporting and all that point of view, I don't know, it gives them shakes, but I'm just trying to find a solution that if you took a little kid for a walk, you could come down Middle Road, walk straight down the middle, you'd be effectively not thing. You could go up the middle if you're at sports, your sports gear hasn't got dog poos on it. But I'm just making some suggestions.
Councillor Hooper.
I'd be inclined to start where the car park was down the bottom, down there, and then file your way up to Farm Road. Make that off leash where you've just drawn, because you're away from any roads there for a start, so you haven't got dogs running out in front of cars. But that middle bit, where the middle green bit is, yes, right in there, just below your cursor, there's another playground right there, isn't there? So there's two playgrounds. So that's an off leash, the green where it is now, isn't it? So we're saying that they're off leash right beside that playground currently. So that's not ideal at all. So then, so if you have the sort of the right angle Farm Road, Middle Road as on leash, and then right through the back is off leash, away from traffic, that's maybe a compromise? Question mark.
Councillor Gilbertson.
Yeah, I support that, because then if people want a longer off-lead walk, they can just walk up and back, and then if they want to do the loop, then they can do the loop with a lead. I think it makes sense. It stays away from the playgrounds.
And roads.
Thank you. It's just a point of information through the chair that Timaru Council had a similar problem with their West End Park sports capacity, disc golf, mixed walk area, off leash and so on. And going back to Councillor Moffat's point before, they actually fenced the playgrounds, and it's addressed all the issues there. So.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, I've got no comment about the obvious. If you fence the kids in and let the dogs roam, it's funny. Are you suggesting, whoever did that last suggestion, that the off-lead is to the right along Parkdale? Because a lot of those residents already get woken up quite early in the morning with dog walkers. So if it's on-lead, I don't know, on-lead dogs quieter than off-lead dogs. As you go along there from the car park to the right, down there, down there. Is that where you suggested was off-lead? Yeah. Because there's a lot of houses down there. Like there's no other houses around Argyle Park other than down Middle Road.
No, it's more about the roads I was thinking of.
Keeping them away from the
road.
road.
Farm road, and dogs, maybe with no fencing, maybe running out in front of traffic. I don't know. Is a dog off leash noisier than an on leash?
I don't know. That's my question. I've got no clue. But it is a comment I have had from, because that's the only residential area. Like there's just fences and then the houses. There's no roads or anything like the rest around Argyle Park. Argyle Park's quite isolated essentially. But that's and I'm guessing that's why that maybe, I don't know, but maybe on lead. I think if you're going to do all this clever permutations, you just keep it how it is.
There is a logic to that suggestion, in that it doesn't create a loop, but it does create a very, very defined, I think it will be a lot clearer, but my colleagues might have a different view, a lot clearer path for people to follow. That I think it would be a lot simpler for people to understand that it was that it was a path around the back edge of Argyle Park. I don't know whether you would have a different view.
Thank you. Through the chair, no, I agree with those points, and I think at the end of the day as well, signage is a big issue down there. If we clarify all the signage, give clear instructions as to where people can go, not go, then that will be a big part of the equation.
Can I just make one comment to that? Have we not had signage up till now? Perhaps it wouldn't be so confusing for people if we'd had signage up till now. Is signage going to do a better job of clarifying the area of on leash and off leash, and it has for the last X number of years.
Thank you. If we go back to the previous bylaw, that middle section wasn't there. And when we changed it to this bylaw and put the signage up to reflect that, it's been quite confusing for dog owners to, when am I going? Stop, start, stop, start. In the end, some have been vandalised as well, and they're not at key points. So we feel that when a sign is clear, it's not vandalised, as much.
Okay, so you're suggesting down Middle Road, Phil, and then hang a right down Farm Road, and that's it, and then back again? Pretty much.
That's
The creek.
on leashes down Middle Road and Farm Road.
On leash.
Yep.
On leash is, that's followed that, stop. And off leash is if you start at the car park at the bottom, and stop.
Yep. And that strip in the green in the middle.
And yes, get rid of the strip in the
Get
middle.
rid of the strip in the middle.
That's on leash as well. By
Yep.
the only off leash is that round the top.
So down from the car park. Can someone point it out with the cursor? Yeah. Okay.
So that's the off-leash area, and the rest of it is all on-leash. That's
Correct.
correct?
Yep. Do you want me to propose that, or you've got a steer?
I guess assuming everybody's comfortable
Right.
with that.
How do people, right,
I can, sorry, just one clarification. So this area here, this triangle here? Yes. Views on that, on or off?
Off, but not the bit going down.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here, so that and that is on,
Yeah.
and all the rest is.
and Farm Road is on leash.
Oh,
Yeah. Right, is everybody happy with that? Have you got a clear direction?
50-50,
Yep. Clear direction? Yep. Let's move on. So what was that?
I'm not sure which. Oh, sorry.
Company Road. Council also proposed to extend the off-leash area at Company Road, the Ashburton Business Estate, to include the entire area with a path connecting Ashford Ave and JB Cullen Drive at the North Park Road end. This was in line with the feedback already received, and the area was deemed to be suitable as off-leash. So Company Road, the Ashburton Business Estate, 71% of submitters supported the proposal to extend the off-leash area at the Ashburton Business Estate. Only 12% did not, and 16% weren't sure or suggested an alternative. So if you turn to the summary of feedback on Stella, the relevant comments for this section are on pages 69 to 76 to work through.
So if we start at 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75 and 76.
Right. Do we have any questions for this? Things that people want to bring up? Support, against, thereafter? Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. Page 72, Anne Tremaine, the area is too far away from any reasonable parking. The only parking is on the side of Company Road. Is that correct?
No, there's plenty of parking around there, and there's a number of different ways that you can get into that dog park.
Councillor Hooper?
Oh, I think we've got a very clear steer, haven't we? 71% supporting the change and only 12.5 again it. So,
Are there any further comments? So people are happy to progress with the feedback we've had and extend the off-leash area? General nodding and happiness? Cool. Right, just Carolyn, do you need to get away? Oh. Okay. Rightio. Lakehood.
I'm assuming you want to continue. So this proposal was about introducing a new off-leash area at Lakehood. There's currently no off-leash areas at Lakehood, they're all on-leash. So the area, as you see, was between Lakehood Drive and the jumping platform on the northwestern side, I think it is. So this was perceived as the appropriate area. It's already popular. Lots of already dogs on leash in that area. And I guess part of it was around introducing an area where there was an off-leash opportunity, and obviously recognising that some off-leash areas were being removed. So in terms of the feedback on this one, overall some reasonable support, 69%, 18% not on support, 13% not sure, or had other views, including sort of other areas that they thought it could be. In terms of the reasons for support, so people thought it was a good location with ample open space, provided that off-leash opportunity. It was considered a suitable area for both for dogs to exercise and swim. Supports locals in terms of dog owners and their families, and may reduce that off-leash use elsewhere around the lake, which of course doesn't happen. And there's already an existing dog activity in the area. People were against because they thought it was that area was already heavily used for recreation. There was that potential conflict with families, children, reserve users, concerns about the compliance enforcement of it, and suggesting that there might be other areas that were more appropriate. And the whole thing of dog waste and nuisance behaviour potentially coming in with the introduction of a dog exercise area in that space. So the summary document sets out the comments, of which there are quite a few, from page 78, which we can go through.
Councillor Hooper?
I just stuck there to 79, if that's okay. I just wanted to question Bernadette Thompson's, there was room for everyone, also a fabulous place for dogs to have a swim. Is she referring to the jumping platform, or it's sort of more where the yachting, sailing?
Be the lake area. The jumping platform area wouldn't be available for as a dog exercise area. Yep. So it's the area to the north of the suggested dog exercise area. Can you point it out?
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. We'll put it up. So it'd be in there, I would think. So what are we, page 79, 80, 81, 82, So that's where the people who don't support the change kicked in from 82, 83, 84.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Councillor
Um,
Wilson.
I've read the several, people's names who have been long-standing residents and have been involved in setting up Lakehood. So I read, especially the one from the Huntington Lake Owners Association, I think it's called, is it? And they talk about the purpose of Lakehood, and they talk about, unused areas of Lakehood that could be used for dog exercise areas. To me, that's the primest part of Lakehood, effectively, from a recreational point of view. And we're going to make it into a dog use area, when I don't think that was the purpose of Lakehood. I think they talked around the back of the lake, or some of the other areas could be used. So we've almost gone for the best part and said the dogs can run there. So I don't think they're opposed to dog areas down at Lakehood, but I think they're opposed to it being in that particular spot when it could have been in other areas that are less utilised or less recreational as it was.
Councillor Gilkison.
Yeah, I was picking up on the same, comments, and it'll be interesting to see if those who support it, who live at Lakehood or who just want to take their dogs out there in the summer, because I think that if it is the latter, that's probably not the best thing for Lakehood, which is already gets busy in the summertime, and then to have a whole lot of people coming out and running their dogs while everyone's trying to have picnics, or with the little model boat people and stuff like that. So I think the only option would be to change the area, or to definitely restrict the hours during summer, so that it would again be before 9 and after 8 or something like that, so that it's a good idea, Russell. If it is to help the people who live there exercise their dogs, I think that is a good thing.
Right, so if we've just got comments around the submissions right now, that'll be really cool, and then we'll do the other questions later, just so we can keep ourselves on track. Councillor Cameron.
There was a submission in here from somebody that lived at Lakehood saying there isn't enough dog areas to exercise your dog, and they were quite in support of that area being designated as an off-leash area at Lakehood. That side round there, I mean, it's pretty barren in terms of, most people just walk around the lake on the little path, don't they? In my experience.
Councillor Moffat.
Could you please tell me why officers chose this spot, and would you be able to bring up on the map the other spot that some submitters have suggested?
Thank you. Through the chair, the areas decided upon were subject to quite in-depth conversations with our contractors, and what the suggestion was from them, which we agreed with, is while that's maybe considered a prime area, it's equally, from a family perspective, if you're going down there as a family with your dog, and then you've then got to walk your dog elsewhere to be exercised when you could have it with you, came into the kind of debate as such, and they felt it was an easy area to patrol. Everyone's there, families are with the dogs, families are watching the kids as well, they're on the jumping platform, so it's all kind of gelled together.
Thank you for that. Right, Councillor Wilson.
Obviously you consulted the dog control people, they don't live there. Did you consult this organisations that have been heavily involved in Lakehood, and the management of it and the whole over the years, it's their life, some of these organisations down there. Did you consult them about it?
Through the chair, we included them in the consultation notification, the Lakehood Residents Association, or it might have a different name, but we didn't speak to them before going out with the proposal.
Right.
We did also do the early engagement, so before we went formally out, so there was the opportunity to feed back through that process as well.
Cool. Right, should we progress through the submissions, please?
think we're up to page, I think we're on 82 maybe? Does that sound about right? 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87. That's all one submission. 88.
Councillor Wilson.
Again, we've just gone through 3 pages of a well thought out long submission, and it talks about they're not opposed to dog areas down there, they're just saying it's in the wrong place. And they're suggesting, you know, a proposed site presents additional practical concerns, vehicles, you know, all this sort of stuff, and they're saying a more suitable alternate locations. Alternate land on the northeast side of the lake, areas behind the wall, future developed areas associated with planning, housing expansion. So they're not opposed to it, they're just saying it's the wrong place. And I think probably the comment you made before about how the dogs, people want a picnic and want their dogs to run. Well, people want to have a picnic with you. If you're having a picnic, you're not exercising your dog. You're sitting there with your dog. You know, you can't have it both ways. I'm sure people don't go and picnic in the dog park. They take their dog for a run there. They go and picnic somewhere else.
Carry on.
A point of clarification, it's not a dog park, is it? We're not fencing it, and that is just an off-leash area, is that correct?
Correct. Okay, so 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, and then 94 moves into people who weren't sure on their views or had other suggestions. 94, 95, and 96.
Right. I've just got one question, probably of Christian. There's been those suggestions to go to that northeast area, and that is near the river. Is there any particular biodiversity work or catchment groups or anything working along that strip there?
Through the chair, there's no active biodiversity project ongoing around that area except recreational reserves. Yeah.
Thank you.
To my knowledge.
Right. Thoughts, feedback, Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. I have a concern if there's an event on at the lake, powerboat racing like they do, or rowing, or a lot of people. That's where a lot of people park to view those things, and cars and dogs and children, and it makes me a little bit nervous in that respect as well. Especially when there's an event on. The issue I have around the back of the lake, it's a very uncontrolled area, and I have seen cars go around there, younger drivers, shall I say, using it as a bit of a racetrack. But yeah, wherever you are, you're never going to stop idiots. But yeah, that would be my concern, that when there's an event, that's a very busy area which we're looking at using.
Councillor Wilson?
I'm opposed to them being off leash, and I think if we're going to have dogs, because if you pull up, 100% sure, I'm 100% sure, people will pull up in their car, in the car park along the road and let their dog out to run. So it's not, you're not going to have it on a leash there and walk. People, that's what I would do if you had a dog. You'd get out, get him off, and off he'd run, or she would run off towards the yellow thing. So effectively you're saying that whole area will be an off leash area, because people won't get out of their car, put it on the leash, walk 50 yards and let it off. We've seen that at Argyle Park. And I think if we want to have a dog area down there, we should be looking at, maybe the long-term plan, a dog area in one area down. That should be in the development plan of Lake Hood. And I don't think all the people that were against it weren't against having that as being developed part of Lake Hood, but they are against making the prime part a dog area. And that's what concerns me.
Councillor Moffat?
Can you bring up on the map where the other alternative area was that was mentioned? Exactly.
Would you put it right by the ski lane? Councillor Cameron.
I take your point, I take everybody's point with regards to that. I can draw an analogy with Argyle Park, and you made the point just like they do at Argyle Park, Richard, which I think you misspoke. But that is indeed a concern with regards to off-leash, and that's indeed what happens at Argyle Park. And they just run amok. So I take your point, but we also have, to Councillor Hooper's comment, we have nearly 70% of people are in support of this park in this proposed site. So that's also something that we have to consider as well. It's a high proportion, 68 or 69, I think. So that's worth consideration. And you can say they're all dog owners, but I can quid pro quo that back at you for the Argyle Park one as well.
Councillor Wilson.
I think Argyle Park, we came to a compromise in this existing off-leash park. So to take something away is greater than to give something out. And I'm not saying that the development of Lake Hood, if we look to put a dog park, I look at Rakaia Dog Park. It was a piece of waste land that nobody owned, nobody wanted, and they've developed it into a wonderful facility. So why steal a facility off the community when we should be looking to enhance it and put another area in? And saying it's down on the shingle, well, that could be an enhancement down there for Lake Hood, down that area. So I'm looking at enhancing it, not just stealing a piece off the community and saying, well, dogs are more important there, we'll put them there. We should be looking at enhancing, not just changing for the sake of it.
Councillor Cameron.
Is the other area you're looking at near the golf course, or where actually is it? Is it up? Like, is it on that map? I can't see it.
Well, we haven't suggested any other area.
Oh, okay. Right, I thought there was an allusion.
There was some suggestions through the submissions of other potential
That it goes
areas.
down by the golf course. And the golf course is sort of fenced, isn't it? There's a big fence around the golf course, so they can't get in and eat the balls.
No, I don't think, there's no fence.
Hasn't it got a big gate there?
No.
Yeah, there's a wire fence, yeah. I thought it was quite a big tall fence and a big gate.
Tony.
Thank you, through the chair. No, the golf course at Lake Hood just has like a very low single chain link fence along the side. You're not fenced in as such.
Councillor Moffat.
The feeling I'm getting is that people want this as a place where you would take your dog to the beach, and spend the day at the beach or whatever. To me, it's that sort of concept. It's not to drive there and take your dog for a walk off lead. It's so families can relax and not worry about their dog bothering other people because they're in an area that they may be spending a few hours. That's the impression I'm getting. So I just want to know, with the tracks around that area, is that drivable, those tracks, or are they walking tracks? Are they drivable?
It's all walking.
That's all walking.
That's a road, so that's the road around the lake.
Yeah,
But
but
everything
around
else
around the top there, though.
It's all walking.
Right. Yeah. So are you allowed to drive on the grass, or is that all fenced off? You can't access that?
If you're onto effective control.
It has been chained off, I think, or fenced off because of behaviour recently. But historically, yeah, you have been able to drive up all the way to the jumping platform and all around that area.
Tony.
I might have picked up Councillor Moffat's question wrong, but are you asking about the other side of the lake as well in terms of drivability? Just this piece here. Okay.
So our contractor has been watching this with interest, and I've just been informed via a message. He consulted with up to 40 people who live in the area who were in favour of that area.
And just point of clarification, right now that is an on-lead area, and we want to change to an off-leash area. Cool.
Everything's on lead at Lake Hood. Yeah.
Correct, thank you. Councillor
I
Cameron.
just want to ask about the Dog Control Act that the government is going to, that we've alluded to a few times, look into next year. How is that going to impact this conversation today, do you think?
Well, we don't know yet. I mean, all I was highlighting is that they're reviewing it. So, and potentially it might come back next year. That may impact or may create requirements for us to change our bylaw at that point. We don't know the detail.
Councillor Gilkison.
I think after hearing everything and looking at the submissions, I do support this as an off-leash area. It's an area that you can avoid, so if you don't want to be near dogs, then you can avoid it. It's big enough to give dogs a good run round, and yeah, I think it's a good option.
Just one quick point. Could you zoom out to show the areas? Because there's talk of Lakewood was developing over time. It's got a lot more land to go. And so I think it's lazy by the dog things to pick a bit that's been developed when we should be thinking of extra bits rather than taking a bit that's been developed. You know, it was one of the first bits that was done and it's prime in the middle. But if you look up to the north a bit, there's still, the council owns another 100 hectares at the top there, which will be developed. And there's some, I'm not sure how far into the river we go. So there is potential to develop a purpose-built dog park area with dog obstacles and all that sort of stuff. And so I think it's lazy to say that we'll just take a bit in the middle because it looks good to the dog people. That's what I'm concerned about. We should be looking at other areas to develop for the specific purpose.
Again, it's not a dog park. It's an off-lead dog area where families with a dog can go and spend the day and relax. That's how I look at that.
Councillor Hooper.
Oh, I look at it, it's a picnic area and we're throwing off-lead dogs at it. I think it's been developed, and when I look at the names West, Foster, Left Rink, and they're very well written submissions, lengthy submissions, then I take notice. And that has been developed as a picnic recreation area with sailing, model boats, kids kicking balls around, and we're going to throw off-leash dogs at it. I don't agree.
Right. I think we've had a fair old chunk of discussion. I'm going to ask just how many people actually support this area being off-leash? 2. All those, oh, sorry, 3. So those, no, she's not, sorry. So we've got the rest feeling it should be an on-leash area or an, as it currently is? Yes, remain as it currently is.
What about the off-leash, apart from December, January, February, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. on-leash? Just those busy summer months.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Is there a chance that we can look at other areas, as Councillor Wilson said, and maybe in conjunction with the residents? We have a good relationship with them down there now around water quality and what's happening at the lake. Maybe this is a chance to involve them again and see if we can come up with a joint solution. And who knows, we might get a win-win situation out of that.
I was also possibly going to suggest that you could adopt the status quo for now and have a look at the opportunity to put in an actual dog exercise park. I know we're in the LTP process, sorry people, but maybe that's something we could consider as part of that. I don't know. Councillor Moffat.
What I just heard from staff is that they have consulted residents, and Rick just got a text saying that contractors talked to 40 residents down there. So, yeah, it's been done and they're in favour, so I don't really understand.
Councillor Cameron.
I would be very reluctant to spend how much is a dog park? $100,000? Huge amount of money on a dog park. 20,000? Require was 20,000, but they did it themselves. Oh, I suppose the Lakewood residents might do it themselves.
There just might be another off-leash area.
Yeah. We haven't got exactly a very clear steer. Sorry, Councillor Gilkison.
I just want to make the comment that it is really clear in the submissions, the support for this. And I take your point, Councillor Hooper, that apparently there's some names that sway you. I don't know these people, but apparently they're more important than everyone else.
Councillor Wilson?
The Huntington Association is a group. It's not just one person. It's a organisation that's set up there to look after the lake. So that they're not saying don't do it. They're almost saying part of the development of the lake, we need to think bigger. That's what the lake's been about. It's about growth and bigger and bigger. And I think, and you think of where the dog parks are. Most of them have been built in small towns because people didn't want them in their parks. I think in Methven, we talked about putting it in a park in the back of Methven, but it was put off, and so then we went to the dog park where it is. Rakaya put it in a piece of unused land, and it's very popular. So there's no reason we couldn't do it down at Lake Hood.
Councillor Ellis?
Thank you, and this is where numbers and statistics get thrown out a bit, isn't it? Because the Huntington Park Property Owners Association are an organisation that is speaking on behalf of a large group of the property owners down here, so those owners didn't put individual submissions in because one came through from the association they're a member of. I just still think it may end up, I know we're writing this thing now, but working with the community, I believe, always gives better outcomes, and I think this is a chance to do that.
Right, we will hear from Councillor Moffat, but in my opinion, we're now going in circles, and
I can't help myself.
we're just putting up opinions rather than adding to the debate. So you either need to add something to the debate, but I'm not up for an opinion. Sorry.
I'm reiterating, it's not a dog park,
No.
as the officers have said.
Right.
Just point of clarification, Madam Chair, you didn't vote, so you're in support of not having the off-lead area. You didn't vote, we better show of hands. We were 3 against.
I would be in support of it staying as an on-lead area for now with further discussion and potentially putting another piece of land aside.
No decision.
I made a decision, yeah. But this is not about a vote for that, because today this is a deliberation. It's not it's decision making as such. It's about informing the bylaw, is my understanding. So it's not a decision as such. It's about informing a process.
Now what?
We still need to give the staff direction on a way to go.
Yep, that's absolutely it, Councillor Maxwell.
So we need to decide a way forward, understanding that we have a piece of legislation next year that could take us in a certain direction potentially, because it's government. We don't know when that decision might fall.
So I mean, and you're correct, and currently it's in the bylaw, so it's in the proposal.
Councillor Ellis.
With the indication you got round this table, at the moment this stays as an on-leash area, I believe, but that same group indicated they would like to have further discussions with the people of Lakewood to see if we can come up with an area that would be suitable as an off-leash area.
Does that work in terms of the bylaw? Because that's actually kind of grey. It's about continuing a discussion without taking a position within the bylaw as such. Tony?
Thank you, Councillor Maxwell. Based on the conversation I've heard today, I think we should be not including this as an off-leash area in the bylaw and stay silent on any future conversations. That's not the bylaw's job, but certainly council can give the direction to officers that that is expected to be gone away and had the conversations and find a possible solution for the next bylaw review.
Cool. Thank you.
Can I just seek clarification though? Do we have to wait till the next bylaw to find a piece of land that we say dogs can be off leash on? Does that have to, can we do that?
Oh, sorry, Mark.
Well, we would have to consult on it again once we'd come up with a new proposal. Because it's not currently part of the bylaw at the moment. So to do that, the only way to do it is to consult. and get it through that process.
And could we consult as part of the long-term plan? Potentially.
You can do it alongside it potentially, yep.
I'm asking a question. Is my turn? No, my turn. Where are the off-leash areas currently in at Lakewood?
There aren't any.
There aren't any?
Through the chair, but that's not to say that people aren't exercising their dogs off leash now.
Can you just perhaps clarify what you said then about the dog? I thought, because if it was 2016, we've had several dog parks created since then. So you must be able to create a dog park, because Rakaia and Methven, they're all been instigated since I've been on council, so that's after 2016. So you must be able to create a new dog park or a new dog area. Can you or not? Can you, without consulting?
We have, but so I think we've done 5-year reviews on the dog bylaw, so it must have just been aligned with that process. So I'm not exactly sure of the timing of Rakaia and how that fitted in, but at the end of the day, if it's not in the bylaw, you can't regulate against it. So it's not part of the appendix where it lists all the exercise areas, for example.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. The dog areas, the dog parks that we've created, are they on council land or have we purchased the land?
Through the chair.
Whereabouts are you talking? Sorry.
Oh, the 5 dog parks we've created, council land?
Yes. Methven, Ashburton, Rakaia, I think, is actually technically on rail land, but all the rest are council land.
Purchase and make additional purchase?
No.
I'm asking an additional question.
Yes, mate.
At Lakewood, we in theory own a dog park could go down by the golf course or could go down wherever. Is that correct? We own that land.
Yes, correct.
Do you feel that you have enough of a steer? I suspect not.
I think we've got a stalemate, maybe is the word.
Yeah.
So I guess it's whether or not you want to go down Tony's suggestion in terms of leaving it out, doing some more work around maybe where a dog park or dog exercise area could go, and then bring it back at a future date. But obviously that means in the interim you don't have anything down there, so it would be as it currently is.
So with nothing there, we would keep the current status quo, which is on leash.
Correct.
So it's not a no dog zone, it's a on leash zone.
It's never
Correct.
been a no dog zone.
Yeah. I'm just clarifying for. Yep. Okay.
Can I just say, when looking at alternative areas, it came through quite clearly that people want to be by the water. So, an alternative area needs to be by the water. It can't be some patch of barren ground, that it's not very pleasant. No.
Correct. Right. So I think we'll go with Tony's suggestion. I'm not going to say it back verbatim because I don't think I can. But have you got enough of a steer? Cool. Right. So we will. Everyone's happy enough now that we adjourn for the day. We've hit 5 o'clock.
How much longer have we got to go?
Another 6.
We've got about another half a dozen issues, I think, to work
There's
through.
another 6 to go through. We have probably staff members and another councillor, not you, who may need to go.
We'll be guided by council. If you decide you want to stay on, we can stay on, but I guess it's up to you and how you feel you're going with your debate and decision making. I mean, you have been going for 8 hours now.
Yeah.
And that's quite a haul like this.
To be perfectly honest, I think we should probably adjourn, even though people don't want to. We've got 6 to go, and I can't see us doing 6 in 25 minutes. Or the cemetery, any of those things in 25 minutes. I think it's a too big a ask. And so I'm going to make the call to adjourn for the day, and we start fresh tomorrow with fresh brains. Does people want to start later? Or do you still want to stay at 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock? Right, we will stick with 9 o'clock. We will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for participating today, and we'll see you at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Thank you.